Hello, it's Mike McGinn here, and we are going to kind of do a quick preview of Chapter 1 and make sure you know how to get around in Packet or in NETACAD. So if you sign into NETACAD, you should see something similar to this screen right here, and your course should be listed. And you just click on it, and that gets you into the home screen of that particular class. This particular class I just went into was the Packt Tracer 101 course that you should have gotten done this past week. If you haven't got it done yet, no sweat. Just get through it as soon as you can. This course is extremely important for being able to complete the work in this course. Packt Tracer is a piece of software that installs on your PC, and it allows you to actually simulate a network environment with various devices, including about most Cisco devices. And this is where you're going to do a lot of assignments where you will be configuring devices and such. The software allows you to save the Packt Tracer files. There's also typically a document that you can basically take out and edit that may have some questions that you need to answer. So what you need to do is just submit your Packt Tracer files and any activity sheets that need to be completed, and just email those to me with your weekly assignments. My preference is that what you do is as you go through the week, you collect all of the assignments that you have due that week and just send me one email with all the attachments, and that way I can just kind of go through all your work for the week within that email and give you the appropriate credit. The assignments, as I mentioned in my overview video, basically if you make an honest attempt to do them, and I can see you actually tried, you'll get credit for that particular assignment. So if you struggle with an assignment, that's not something to worry too much about in terms of the grade on that particular assignment. Each assignment's worth 1 point. I gave you 5 points for surviving the first week without dropping the class, and I'll give you 5 points for actually getting to the end of the course. So everybody starts out with 10 points out of all the points for assignments, which will hopefully curve the percentages up a little bit at the end of the course. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my NETACAD again to get my courses up, and you will see this course for Cisco 1, which is the NET I-10500C course, and we're going to get into that course here. And this could very well be your first experience with the NETACAD learning platform. As you can see, there's a list of options here. This is mostly where you're going to be working. And to launch a particular module for a chapter, you go into modules, and it kind of lays everything out for you, where you can launch the chapter, which is basically your reading material, and then there's a Chapter 1 quiz, which isn't graded, it's just kind of to do a head check for you, and then Chapter 1 exam, which is worth 100 points, and you definitely need to complete those each week. Those are due each week, and if you miss them, you're going to get a 0. So it's real important you keep up on that stuff. The assignments are over here under the Assignments tab, and basically if you open up an assignment, it'll give you the list of the assignments that are supposed to be completed that week and should be submitted to me by midnight on Sunday night of each week. So that's basically your task list there. Like I said, you're going to get 1 point for making an honest attempt and submitting each of these. Send them all in one email if at all possible. It makes it easier on me and being able to process your work for the week and be able to get it in the grade book. Your grades, basically you can look at the grades tab and you can see how you're doing and how many points that you particularly got on everything as you go through, and it does a real nice job of kind of monitoring your progress as it went through the course. The quizzes are over here. Oh, no, they're not. I guess they're within the module, so I apologize for that. That's basically all you're going to need. The syllabus tab, you know, we have the syllabus in Blackboard, so that is not there, but it does kind of still give you the assignment summary. And the due dates are also not posted in here. They are on the course calendar. No use doing double data entry. I'm kind of adverse to that. So that's really about all you got to know about NETACAD. It kind of grades itself as you go. Like I said, I will be posting your grades as you submit your assignments. The exams are automatically graded when you complete the exam, and they show up. So that's basically what's going on with NETACAD. Now, NETLABS, we'll go into that a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and get NetLab up here. Makes you do a self-test, make sure your computer's in good working order, or it's recommended that you do one. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the test. And sometimes if your machine isn't ready, it's usually related to you need to get Flash or I'm sorry, Java installed properly, and it's usually just following the links and everything's right. But what you're going to see here is you're going to see this screen right here, and really you don't have to worry much about anything but the scheduler. And what you do is you schedule, you pick your class out, and then you basically just select whichever exercise you want to do, and then you just basically blank out where you want to schedule it. It doesn't matter which. Each of these columns is basically a pod or a group of equipment that you can get assigned to, but basically what you do is you just figure out when you want to do the lab, and you just click on the plus sign, and it automatically loads the exercise that you've selected to do. You tell it what time you want the lab to start, what time you want it to end, and you know, I would generally just, these things aren't usually all that crowded. As you can see, nobody's out there right now, so I'd give yourself at least an hour and a half or even 2 hours to complete a lab, just to make sure you got plenty of time. And you want to load the default configs for the exercise, which is the default, and you just want to click OK. And okay, looks like I got a little thing I got to fix here. It says the maximum reservation of this class is 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I guess I can't do 2 hours. So you're limited to an hour and a half. My bad. So we're going to click OK there, and its reservation ID is done. And then once your reservation is up, it tells you when you can go in and do it. And you just simply click on that ID, and if you can get into the lab because it's started, you just simply proceed and get into the lab. It'll load up all the devices and things like that, and it's kind of intuitive how it all works, but you might struggle at first, but don't worry about jumping in and doing a lab right away. If you go through the packet tracers and that sort of thing that are assigned prior to your first lab, I think you'll be able to figure it out without too much trouble. If that's a problem, let me know. I can go ahead and do a presentation on getting in and actually doing one of the labs type of thing, but it should not be too bad, I hope. We'll see how we do. Typically I teach this class in a classroom setting, so what you guys can do on your own and what I can gotta spoon feed you, I am not real sure yet, but we'll see how that goes, and I can like I said, I can do a presentation on just doing a basic NetLab lab at that point. So that's NetLabs. So back to chapter 1. Oops, wrong place. Not thinking what I'm doing. So to launch a module for a chapter, you just basically click the module and you click launch the chapter. So I'm going to go ahead here and launch chapter 1, and you launch the content, and you're going to get a navigation bar here on the left. This is where you're going to find your assignments. You know, if the assignment on the course calendar, for example, is that, let's see what we got, week 2, whoops. In week 2, we got 1, 2, 4, 5 packet tracer, so if you could just drill down to 1, 2, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, oh, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, what am I looking for? I can't seem to find it. 1, 2, 4, 5, 1, 2, 4, 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4, 4. Maybe there's a number off in my network representation. Yeah, I'm off a number. I'll fix that in the course calendar. And that was fun. So 1, 2, 4, 4, I find it, and then I basically, there's the instructions, and you can launch your, this will actually launch Packt Tracer on your machine if you click that. And you can get right into doing the Packt Tracer. So I need to update my software. But anyway, the representation comes up, and then what you can do is you can, going back to our assignment, I can bring up the instructions, and I always find that it always helps print out a hard copy of this, but the instructions are up, and a lot of times these instructions will have things that you can fill out as questions. This is an answer to the question, and you fill these out, and then what you do is then you can save the document to your to a folder. And then what you want to do is what I would recommend is as you go through the course, you set up yourself a little folder on your computer that says NetI 105, and and then make a subfolder for chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, etc. And just save your stuff in the particular, or I should say session 1, session 2 instead of chapter 1, chapter 2. And just save your assignments for that particular week in the appropriate week's folder. And then, when you have everything done for the week, just send an email to me. It says chapter 1 assignments, and just attach all your files and send it to me, and then I'll check them off as we go. We'll see how that works. Being this is the first time I've taught this class online, I just want to make sure that I've got all the bases covered here, so I'm trying to make it simple yet have it work well. So that's where I'm kind of going with that. Okay, so that's getting into Packt Tracer in an assignment. The labs, when you create the lab, you tell it what lab you want to do. Everything is pretty much provided for you there. When you complete a lab, I get a log file, so I know that you've completed the lab, so that's how I will find out that you've completed labs as we go along. Okay, without further ado, Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is pretty basic, just basically gets us familiar with some terminology. Um, we talk about in part 1.1 how we're all just kind of one big happy world, and you know how it affects our daily lives, etc. It gives us a little bit of history as to, you know, technology then and now. Not a lot of meat in this chapter, so you know we try to take it a little easy on you for the first couple weeks because you know, everything else you got going on with your course load and getting used to the online tools and that sort of stuff. But this, you know, section 1.1 is pretty much just you know, fluff, as I like to call it. Then as we move through to we talk about resources in our network, with the fact that we've got networks of many different sizes. You know, in my business I work with mostly small office, home office networks to medium to large networks. We do, especially in our Cisco practice, we work on networks that are worldwide. And so, you know, you got different types of networks for different situations. And they talk about client servers and the fact that you've got you know, clients or endpoints, you have servers, and the switch is the device and that actually allows all these devices to physically interconnect. A wireless access point can do the same thing, but they talk about that, and talk about client-server computing a little bit and the different applications you can see, and what a peer-to-peer network is. Peer-to-peer network is what you often find in a home or a small office. Not fun to work with, because basically in a peer-to-peer network you're treating every computer as if it was its own system, whereas when you're on a client-server network with Windows and Active Directory, you can kind of control and what's going on the clients, and makes them easier to maintain in terms of security, antivirus, that sort of thing. So that's what they're talking about there. And then we get into components of a network. You know, that you have devices, media, and services. Devices are all the particular devices, whether it be IP phone, computer, server, or you got switches and routers and that sort of thing. The media is how does the data travel from one place to the other, whether it would be copper or fiber, across a service provider network where you have a connection to a T1 or to DSL or cable, that sort of thing. And then your services are basically the software that runs on the platforms, and also rules that are basically configured in software on your interconnecting devices. And that's what we're going to learn about a lot in this course, is basically configuring the Cisco devices, which are putting in, creating the processes and services that manage and control where the network can go based on your security policies, etc. So that's what's going on there. We talk about network representations, you know, which is basically when you're looking at a network diagram, you know what's what, differences between end devices and intermediary devices and network media. Topology diagrams, the fact that you have physical and logical diagrams. Physical topology is basically what do you got where physically, and obviously a logical topology is where we get into IP scheming, where we actually assign unique IP addresses to devices on the network, either fixed, in other words we set up the device one time with a specific IP address, or we dynamically assign IP addresses as our policy dictates to our endpoint devices. So I believe we have this packet tracer to do, and this kind of helps tie things together. And the network is a platform. We talk about converged networks. That's where when we talk about a converged network, we're talking about the concept that voice, video, data, all basically run on the same IP network. This is pretty much the norm today. A lot of older networks may still have their voice on one totally separate physical infrastructure, or their video, if they have a video surveillance system, they may be on yet another physical infrastructure. But with a converged network, everything is connected to the IP network, so it's easier to maintain, higher functionality, etc. So that's kind of the highlights of Chapter 1. Like I said, it's pretty much a fluff chapter. It's a good read, though. It kind of gets you the basis for what we're going to get into in Chapter 2. So enjoy this, and go ahead and do the assignments. And if you have any questions or problems, just shoot me emails, and I'll get to them as quick as I can. So I'll be back with you real soon. Thanks.